The social contract is a response to the prisoner's dilemma. It's a way to try to get society into the upper top left square where we're all cooperating and not exploiting each other's vulnerabilities. So the protective social contract. Each of us does what? Well, I say I won't harm or interfere with you if all of you agree not to harm or interfere with me. And then each of us says that. And we each also say that if someone else tries to harm any of us, then we will all protect each other from that outside harm. Well, we're all better off if we all agree not to engage in these behaviors, right? If we just consider the two possibilities where either we're all harming and interfering with each other, or none of us is harming or interfering with anybody else, well, the situation where there's no one is doing that is better for each of us, because while we you lose in some way because you can't harm anybody, right? You can't inform on other people and get the benefit of doing that. You can't murder and steal and lie, and so you give up all the benefits, self-interest benefits that you would gain by engaging in all those behaviors. So you lose a little bit, but you're protected from everybody else doing that to you, and that's the benefit you get by being protected from everyone else doing those things to you is much greater than the benefit you would have gotten if you could do those things to everybody else. It's much better to be protected and not do them than it is to do them and not be protected. So what this means is that your reputation provides you with a very substantial egoistic motivation for acting altruistically. You want to benefit from the social contract by maintaining your reputation, right? You think, okay, I want to benefit from the social contract, that's egoistic. How am I going to do that? I'm going to maintain my reputation. How am I going to maintain my reputation? I'm going to act altruistically. And so the descriptive egoist would suggest that maybe this is the essential motivation for altruistic actions. The reason why we act altruistically when we do is because we want to get the benefits, the egoistic benefits of the social contract, and we want to get those by maintaining our reputation, and we maintain our reputation by acting altruistically. So the altruistic action is really egoistically motivated via our reputation. If I didn't get the reputational benefit from the altruistic action, then I wouldn't get the social contract benefit from the altruistic action, and if I don't get the social contract benefit, then I won't do the altruistic action. The idea is the only reason why I act altruistically is to get the reputational benefit, to get the social contract benefit. Without the social contract benefit, I won't act altruistically. That's the suggestion. So to illustrate this idea that maybe our fundamental motivation for acting altruistically when we do is egoistic, and more specifically this social benefit, we can go back to an example from Plato, who is a Greek philosopher from about 2,500 years ago, famous example in philosophy called the ring of GYGES. So we have a farmer. Farmer doesn't act purely egoistically. This farmer will act altruistically, but the farmer finds a ring of invisibility, the ring of GYGES. And so this ring just makes you invisible when you put it on. And so the story is that, well, what happens when the farmer finds this ring? The farmer puts on the ring, sneaks into the palace, kills the king, seduces the queen, and becomes the king. So the farmer suddenly starts acting not altruistically once the farmer gets the ring of invisibility. So what this looks like is the farmer's only reason for acting morally was the reputational benefit and that you get by acting altruistically and by being in the social contract. The farmer's egoistic. The farmer acted altruistically and not purely egoistically before finding the ring because doing so was in his benefit, and because it got him the benefits of the social contract, the protection. But why did it get him the benefits of the social contract? Because acting altruistically maintained his reputation. But the farmer acted purely egoistically and not altruistically after finding the ring. Why? Well, because doing so then was in his benefit. And why was it in his benefit? Well, because he got two things. He got the benefits of violating the social contract by harming others, but he also got the benefits of the social contract because his actions didn't affect his reputation, because he was invisible. So the suggestion is what we might think of is the universal farmer hypothesis, the descriptive egoist says. The descriptive egoist says we're all more or less like the farmer. We're egoistic. Any altruistic action we do is also egoistic and not purely altruistic. Why? Well, why do we do these altruistic things? Why are they also egoistic? They maintain our reputation, and they therefore maintain our benefits from the social contract. So our major motivation for acting altruistically is the reputational benefit. Without that benefit, if acting altruistically didn't get us the benefit at all, or we could get the benefit without acting altruistically, then we wouldn't act altruistically. And this supports premise 2 of the wants argument. It says, look, so remember, premise 2 of the wants argument says we're always motivated to do whatever we believe is in our self-interest. And it looks like there are cases where, well, wait a minute, we engage in all these altruistic actions, and they don't look like they're in our benefit, and the descriptive egoist says, but they are in your benefit once you take into account the fact that they maintain your standing in the social contract. Once you recognize that, then you see, like the social contract is super important, maintaining my standing in the social contract is super important, and so acting altruistically actually gets me all these super important benefits. So is the universal farmer hypothesis correct? Is it the case that we won't, so what this says is we won't do the altruistic action when if our reputation won't be benefited or protected by the altruistic action. But it looks like we have these counterexamples to the universal farmer hypothesis. In cases of self-sacrifice, where you actually, the sacrifice is so extreme that you're going to die, your reputation doesn't matter because, at least in this way, because I mean, you may have a good reputation after you die, but that good reputation doesn't benefit you for the social contract because you're not around to benefit from other people not harming you because you don't exist anymore. Lots of times you also go above and beyond the social contract, and it's not clear why that would be beneficial because we already have the protection of the social contract. So we act more altruistically than maybe we're minimally required to maintain our reputation. And then, of course, there are lots of situations where we could cheat, and we probably wouldn't get detected, but we don't cheat. So like we might not cheat on our taxes. Of course, some people do, but does everybody? No. And the chance of you getting caught is pretty low. Most people don't cheat on their taxes because they are willing to pay the taxes and not because they're afraid of getting caught. So it looks like there are lots of counterexamples to the universal farmer hypothesis. It's true that we care a lot about our reputation to maintain our standing in the social contract, but the universal farmer hypothesis says that's basically the only substantial reason, or the only substantial reason why we care, why we do altruistic actions is because we care as our egoistic concern for our reputations. And that looks like that's not true. We have other concerns besides our egoistic concern for our reputation. So our egoistic concern for our reputation doesn't explain these actions because we don't get the reputational and social contract benefit, and so it looks like we also have altruistic motivations. So it's important that we see that we do have these egoistic motive or egoistic benefits of behaving altruistically, and that this social contract benefit is a really important egoistic benefit of altruistic action, but it doesn't look like the descriptive egoist has a strong argument that that's always the only reason that we act altruistically and that we don't also have genuine altruistic motivations. Right, in these cases, the costs to me outweigh the reputational benefits. They don't benefit me the most, but they do benefit others the most. And so these altruistic actions, they aren't egoistic, and they are purely altruistic. And we do them, and so we do purely altruistic actions, and so the descriptive egoist is incorrect. So, to summarize what we've said about descriptive egoism, it looks like the wants argument fails. Why? Well, there's this premise 2, which says you always most want to do what you believe is in your self-interest. This looks false. It looks like we do, there are lots of, on the one hand, the descriptive egoist is right that there are lots of egoist benefits from behaving altruistically, but the descriptive egoist is not right that those are always the only benefits that motivate us when we perform altruistic actions, and that in fact we do act purely altruistically. We do act altruistically in ways that are not also to our most benefit. And this undermines the argument for descriptive egoism, and it falsifies descriptive egoism as well. So not only does the argument not work, but these are counterexamples to descriptive egoism. So I think we should say descriptive egoism is false.